Sacha Cohen's character would have never had the audacity to do what he did in the reverse in Ladies First, because he still went into this patriarchy with women on top environment, because it was not matriarchy, with the experience and the grooming of a powerful, rich white man. I'm Dr. Anna Kloshman. I research the unwritten rules of work for the working class, and I also look at intersections of race, gender, and neurodivergence in there as well. My partner and I watched this movie. We did get a lot of giggles out of it. It's not perfect, but we didn't hate it. It's something to keep in mind, and there will likely be spoilers here, so if you are going to watch it, maybe wait, save this video. But essentially, he is the high power executive abusing her in real life, and he hits his head and gets knocked into this world where women are on top. They call it in the description a matriarchal society, which annoys the hell out of me, because actual matriarchy is not patriarchy with women on top. It's a circle. It's protecting children and vulnerable people and making decisions together. Men actually aren't in an inferior position, but they describe it as matriarchal, but it's just patriarchy with women on top. Women are the sexual abusers. Men are sexually exploited. Women are in charge. Men have to put the extra effort into beauty, sexiness, etc., but not too much. Men aren't allowed to age. Things like that. It's not matriarchy. It's patriarchy with women on top. Later, this all kind of culminates in the scene of him going for the CEO job that she is in line for. And again, a pretty significant loophole seems to be that he was very recently promoted into a much lower role, and of course she would take it. And that could look at the pipeline issue of why he wasn't promoted for so long, which is what women experience, but it just wasn't addressed and just made it seem, even in this matriarchal society, like an inferior man should still get a job that she was doing. But even his audacity to take himself to the corporate offsite where they were making these decisions is not something someone who did not have rich white man audacity would even have the knowledge to do. He knew that the decision was going to happen at an offsite, that he knew that was something to do, and that he had the audacity to show up. That is what you do when you have a lifetime of being told you are the default, that you are deserving, and that everything is run by you. And he brought that with him into this women patriarchy world. Women, people of color, people who are first generation professionals, one would not even know that that is where the decisions are made. Maybe later in their careers they would. But then they certainly would have been more worried about, how do I get there? What do I say when I get there? How do I talk them into letting me stay? And that was just never even confronted of. He was still just accepted to be there, which in a society which apparently penalizes men, he likely would not have been able to. Because a woman showing up at the corporate offsite who wasn't invited, who's not an executive, that would have gone very differently. While this movie did a good job of showing the sexual harassment that happens, it didn't seem to be a risk for him at all in this overnight offsite either. But his knowledge of unwritten rules, his knowledge of office politics, even that how quickly he was willing to play the game, and that he knew he had to jump into dyeing his hair, getting fit, even, funnily enough, getting penile fillers, etc. He balked at that at first, but then immediately knew what he had to do to get to the top. These are things that a lot of first-generation professionals, people from working-class backgrounds, especially if they're also women, especially if they're also a person of color, these take longer to learn, or often learned the hard way, while also not being able to not do absolutely impeccable work. So again, didn't hate this movie. I think it showed a good job of how overwhelming all of it can be, and I really liked that it showed the objectification parts of it. But the roles can never completely be reversed, and I'm so tired of, and people of my own complexion do this with things about race. Oh yeah, well, what if I said that as a white person? What if I said that as a man? Well, the context isn't reversed. That is the point. Women are not as penalized. Complimenting men's appearances is not seen as sexual harassment, because most sexual harassment cases are not done by women. Now, there's underreporting. That's also because of patriarchy, that men are seen as less of a man for being abused by someone else, regardless of gender, especially if it's from a woman. That's still a patriarchy problem. Women are not assumed to be a school shooter or violent, because we don't commit most violent crime. The context did not just shift. And so while I'm entertained by things like this, and the scenes that were, especially, the one we see on TikTok where they're in the meeting and the women do the role reversal of making everything about balls instead of everything's about boobs in advertising, I did get a good chuckle. We did enjoy it, watching it with my partner. He was like, it points out things that I don't even think of. But I do fear with movies like this that it also just it really shows you who are defensive men and who are willing to learn, because what I also fear is these just show what men think matriarchy is and what they fear it becoming. And movies like this, in a time with so much red pill incel shit, they just see this and reaffirm their narrative that that's why they have to stay on top. I will also say the ending was very dissatisfying. Don't want to spoil too much, but it just didn't seem to change much. Besides, like, oh, he learned a lesson. We need some more action.